trying to kill us. They are the sound. We are the last. We are the last. Souls in chains torment us with pain. Never again. Never let go of the dead that still shine. Never with fire. Trample the soul. Blood at our feet. Children cry out, but the demons still shout. Mock us with fire. Hang us on wire. Crush our bones while they sit on their throne. Don't forget Christ is king. They wanna kill all us, kill us all. They hate us, enslave us. This world is dead. Suffer. Whips on our backs, nails through our heads. We're undead prey. Legends around, their laughter resounds, but hope still bleeds in the ones who believe. Don't forget Christ is king. They wanna kill us all. They hate us, enslave us. This world is dead. Christ is king. Christ is king. Christ is king.
You already know what it is, man. We're back here serving some more game on the ground for them hungry hounds. We just got the pound and are ready for the next round. So with that being said, make sure you don't grab your snacks, your drinks, or your weed because you do not need them. So with that being said, y'all can see the title of this episode, this live, whatever you want to call it. Candace Owens investigation into Charlie Kirk, part 3. She did another episode, I think it was today. We live where the flag at. I gotta find the flag, bro. I got no idea what the hell happened to it after I moved. But with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and pull this up real quick. There we go. I'm about to look around and see if I can find that flag. It's gotta be somewhere. But with that being said, let's get it, man. Boom. Boom. All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's get it.
Okay, so let's start with the breaking news.
First of all, before we start, let me start it off by saying this. All you goofballs that said the rapture was happening yesterday, the rapture was happening today, it didn't happen. So yeah, every single one of y'all that believed it, y'all sitting around here that sold your houses, withdrew your 401ks and all this other stuff. I bet you're feeling pretty retarded, huh? Yeah, it didn't happen. So let's get into it.
Don't even know if it's considered breaking news when it comes to the feds. Look, I don't think it's breaking news. I think it's just the news. This is what they do. Well, I have it now on a very well-placed authoritative source that the FBI is putting an absurd amount of pressure right now on the authorities in Utah and also the rest of the government in Utah to come out and to say that the Charlie Kirk case is closed. They want it over. They want Charlie's assassination to be officially ruled lone gunman. It was a lone gunman that did that. Nobody else is involved. Now, why would they? Why would they want that? Right? What are they saying, at least to the authorities? Are they saying like, this is the reason? I'm sure they're not coming out and being honest or saying something that might ring truer to us, the public, which would be them saying, well, we know who did this and we want to protect those people, so close the case. What they're actually saying instead is essentially, if you don't close the case against Charlie Kirk and rule it a lone gunman, then it might mess up our prosecution against Tyler Robinson. That feels a little bit to me like moral blackmail. Hey, man, we're not hiding anything, but we got this guy Tyler Robinson. If you don't close this case, then it might harm our chances of locking this guy up. Yeah, I am sure that they are being just moral. I'm sure they're telling the truth to the authorities. Now, I want to remind you guys, we should take a look at their current case against Tyler Robinson to see if we should accept this narrative, because currently there is absolutely no video which shows Tyler Robinson firing the weapon or even taking aim at Charlie Kirk. In fact, the individual who filmed the footage of the shooter on the roof, the lone video that exists of the shooter on the roof, also told me that he doesn't think that Tyler Robinson is the guy. So how's that going to work for an eyewitness account? When he reported the shooter on the roof to Utah on the campus, he was clear that the person was wearing an entirely different outfit than the ones that they're currently trying to claim that Tyler wore on that day. Remember, Tyler was just supposed to be wearing a t-shirt and some jeans. He says, no, he was in tactical gear. The person that I saw was in tactical gear. Also, that eyewitness told me that gun doesn't even match what I saw. And like I said, this individual definitively has experience with guns.
Looks like if the feds really don't investigate this, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do. That's crazy.
He teaches people how to fire guns. So according to him and what he observed, if he's going to be brought into this court case that they're saying they want to, they'll bring charges against Tyler, he's going to testify and say, no, that doesn't look like the gun. That doesn't look like the person. So how's this going to work? Also, according to the individual that told me this, regarding the feds trying to push for this case closure, the feds don't even have any footage that explains how exactly the rifle in particular got onto the roof. That stuns me. That's stunning information, right? Because all we have is, well, in the indictment, he dropped onto the roof at 12:15 p.m. Tyler Robinson just dropped onto the roof. I guess in our minds, we assumed on the basis of the picture that they released the sole picture or set of pictures from the same moment of him walking up the stairs. We assumed that he, like I said, stanky-legged it, the whole stanky leg all the way up onto the rooftop. That was our perception. But it turns out, according to my source, they don't know how the rifle got onto the roof. That's interesting. How are we bringing this?
That is interesting. If that picture that they released of, quote unquote, Tyler Robinson going up to the roof on those stairs was actually him going up there, where would the rifle be at? It's a very good question.
It's a trial. Now, regarding the bullets, the source says that it was too fragmented to match Tyler's rifle, so they don't have even the bullet. And let us not forget that Tyler himself has not confessed to anything. And that part also didn't make sense. He said they brought him in, Bill Ackman puts up $1 million, Tyler's dad gets the sheriff friend to come over, and they say he did it, and the police come and they bring him in, they bring Tyler Robinson in, but Tyler Robinson doesn't confess? So how did you arrest him? Does that make sense? How could you make an arrest if you didn't have a confession? You would have to have evidence, and the evidence can't be trust my dad, bro. You can't, if I just bring in a random person, if I say, oh, look, Skylar just committed this crime, and Skylar says, no, I didn't, and he doesn't confess, the police can't just make an arrest. You just arrest Skylar. Nothing is making sense at all. It has not made sense from the very beginning, okay? And that's because the feds are involved. And I believe the feds know exactly what happened. In fact, I don't think it's a stretch of imagination when we examine history to assume that they maybe even had some foreknowledge. Not everybody, obviously, because some people are trying to get the information out and are trying to figure out what happened. But we know that there are people that are a part of that apparatus who are terrible human beings, who we do not want ruling over us, and yet they do. So I'm just curious how exactly they believe they are going to convict Tyler Robinson on this. Oh, you know what? It's probably the Discord messages. I forgot. Silly me. The Discord, I forgot he was so explicit. How could we forget? Oh, Lance, wherefore out thou, Lance, deny thy father and refuse thy name? And if thou wilt not, Lance, the bullet, me, my handprints, it was me, my love. I did everything. I carved it. Do you remember, my love, when I was carving the bullets? No. Yes. Exactly this time is when I did it. And these are the reasons, my MAGA daddy, my love, thou wilt not, my love. Cool story. Very cool story, feds. Kind of feeling like Tyler's going to get off because they've got really nothing but prints. And from my sources, it's not the only set of prints that are on that gun. In fact, the only thing that I have heard that made sense, which did not come from our government, did not come from the feds, not come from the Utah government, but rather from the people that are on the ground who believe that actually Tyler was just told to walk and drop off his gun at a neighboring house. That for some reason just feels like that might be honest, and that was how he participated in this event. But we'll see, because I'm not going to let this go. So we'll see if the feds tell us to just dismiss it, as they always.
It's crazy. It's blown up to all this extra bullcrap, though. If only we lived in a world where justice was important and mandatory. Real justice, not the BS political justice, the political lawfare justice. No. Like, it sucks that we can't just really get to the bottom of this and just say, hey, we found out that this agency was involved. But then, of course, the whole FBI would probably be destroyed in a heartbeat. But still, the fact that we live in a world where we have to do all this lying and all this running around and rearranging things and making things up and left and right, it's just, I ain't gonna lie, but sometimes it do be getting exhausting sometimes.
It's do. Rather relatedly, something that I want to tell you, yesterday we had showed you a clip of Charlie discussing our friendship and how he was feeling morally blackmailed over it. And in that same clip, he mentions a very fond memory that I have, that he was there when I met my husband, and he says, it's a really fun story. And it is a fun story. It's actually a totally fun, crazy story of how I met my husband, because I had something that came over me, and that's the only way I can describe it. And I get all the conspiracies online when people were like, there's no way her and her husband got engaged after 18 days. That's exactly how it happened. Okay. I didn't know him. I never even saw his face 18 days prior. And I'm with Charlie. We're hitting the ground running. And I'm just like, I feel compelled that we must go to the UK. It was, when I say the most overpowering thing ever, I was like, Charlie, we gotta go to the UK. We gotta go to the UK. We should go to the UK. We should go to London. And he's like, man, why? Why do you want to go to London? I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like we're supposed to be there. We gotta be there for an event. And I did something that I had never done. I took Charlie Kirk's credit card, and I was like, I'm going to find flights and just book it. And then you just figure out, maybe it means we're supposed to start Turning Point UK. If there's energy there, that was a part of his vision. He wanted Turning Point to be global, and he had people that were interested in the UK. And so I actually am showing you this very old text message chain from that time between me and Charlie, where I never booked flights, but I booked these flights. And I was like, look, the flights are dirt cheap. From NYC to London, $450 in coach, or $1,200 in first class. And he's like, wow, let's book it. All right. We booked the flights. And then suddenly I realized the reason that I had this overwhelming feeling to be there was because I was supposed to be my husband. And the only thing I can say is that it was an intuition. We describe it, that it had to have been God. We had just had no other reason to be there. And then Charlie set up a speaking event with some people that had been interested. And sure enough, we were there to help Turning Point UK get set up. Anyways, this overwhelming feeling, I had never experienced something like that since, until about a week before, or actually, 10 days before Charlie got assassinated. And so I'm going to explain that to you, because you guys who watch this podcast might have realized something, that we took the show off air randomly for the first couple of days in September. So I will describe to you exactly what happened. There at first was an elementary school shooting that happened. at a Catholic school, and I was just concerned in a way that I had never felt so impacted. And I was going, something isn't right. Something is just not right. And I felt that there was some sort of an infiltration that was happening at schools. And the best way that I can describe it in a sentence is that I sensed that the danger wasn't stopping there and that more was coming, and that I needed to take a look at just the process of hiring people at the school that my children were going to attend. And I did just a cursory online search, and some messages I found, which were not written by a teacher at the school, but someone who was adjacent to some teachers at the school, gave me pause for concern. In fact, explicitly what it was a Polish underground symbol, like a Polish communist underground symbol that nobody would have recognized outside of people who know what it meant. And I just sort of went, okay, that's weird. I kept looking online, and strangely, I'm not kidding, and I'm going to show you these messages, I came across what looked to me like a bunch of people talking about bees. You're going, like literally bees, in a way that the only way I can describe it to you is like they were speaking about bees, but they weren't speaking about bees. It was very coded. And I'm going, am I going crazy? Or do you think that all these people are really actually, quote unquote, bee farmers, or saying that they farm bees? What is this lingo that I'm not understanding? Why do I feel like it's related to students? I didn't feel good about it at all. And I just sensed that we needed to get more involved, to go to the school, to ask about the process of hiring, to see if they needed more security. They were kind of giving up me the thing that teachers do now when you ask any questions about what happens at the school, which is they make you think like, why do you want to know? Like, we just do whatever we want to do. It's like, I don't know. My children are like 5 and 4, actually. Parents should, of course, we need to be more involved. Like, how did we get here? That we feel like we're crazy for asking questions about the hiring practices at schools. And the feeling just didn't go away. I can show you this actually, because I was thinking, like, I said to my husband, there is some weird underground, it's like I sense like imminent danger is coming. And for
Let me tell you something. Any teacher that gives you a goofy ass look for asking questions about like how the school is run and whatnot and what's taught at the school, they should be looked into immediately. Teachers and principals should have to be held legally by law to be transparent in everything that they teach and do in school, and that's 100% facts. That needs to be a law across the whole country. Because without that, I mean, look at what's going on in California with their schools. Because their schools, their teachers, their principals, they're not held accountable for what they do, for what they teach, for what they allow. Like, come on now. That's crazy.
For some reason, I feel like there is an underground that has emerged at schools, and it's like related to bees. That's what I said. And I messaged multiple people about this. My sister. Here are a couple of more text messages to other people. You can look at the time frame here. This is 8:30, August 30th. This is September 1st. We went off air. September 2nd, we were off air. And I started talking about people that were discussing bees in a way that didn't make sense. And I don't know if this is drugs. I don't know what it is, but it's weird. And so in a sentence, I just said, there's imminent danger coming. Okay. It is relating to a school. I think it's a communist underground, and I don't know why, but it has something to do with bees. Totally sensible thing to say to your husband. Oh, and we need to hire more security. And we did. We hired more security that very week. And I was just frantic about it. And we made the decision that we needed to homeschool immediately and started the process, pulled our kids out of homeschooling and starting to interview people. But it wasn't enough. Like, despite hiring more security, despite taking my kids out of school, I still had a sense of dread. The Tuesday night, the night before Charlie got assassinated, I had book club, and I felt like I needed to emphasize to people in book club that it was time to take their kids out of school. Like, take your kids out of school. Something, danger is happening right now. And I'm going to show you a clip. Obviously, this is all behind the paywall of what I said to people that are in the book club. Take a listen. I'm homeschooling my kids. I'm so excited. I'm like very excited. I'm embarking on this. Recent decision, and it is just, I can't explain to you when a weight got lifted off my shoulders, because I was like, I can't just speak about this. Like, we have to do it and show people that it can be done. And I'm so glad that my sister who did it first, because I was like, my sister, it was very difficult for her to do this. She's got to wake up super early, but seeing her do it made me go, my older sister, I was like, what is wrong with me? Of course I can do this. And again, this weight being lifted off my shoulders of like, you don't get my kids. This whole system, this whole matrix, gotta send your kids to school so we can what? Indoctrinate them mentally. In some schools, there's abuses that are happening, like, and I just have to take the risk and give you my child, like my small child, and then you're gonna gaslight me. this is what happened actually. I was like asking the school basic questions, like, because I was only going to put them in like, a little daycare program, pre-K program. And like, I was like, ask questions like, how do you hire people? And they were like, you don't get to ask those questions. What's wrong with you, Mom? Why are you so scared? I'm like, okay, bye-bye. See you never. Don't make me think that I'm weird for being a mom. Okay, don't make me believe or try to sell to me this idea that we're sharing these kids. These are your students, these are my kids. And if you don't understand that, then they can't be your students. That's it. That was on September 9th, okay? Then came September 10th. Obviously, Charlie lost his life. And a few days later, I was told, and I sensed instantly that there was like a hive of people that were involved in this. I just knew it. And when it happened, I just went, oh my goodness. And my gut is telling me that this was the thing, that the dread that I sensed that was coming out of school. And I had no idea. I am not a flag person at all. And then someone told me, and I was astonished that Utah recently, extraordinarily, did modernize their B flag. I had no idea that the Utah state flag is a hexagonal beehive, right? And unbeknownst to me, that it has always been the beehive state. So in 2024, they modernized their flag, but they've always been known as the beehive state. And to be clear, it's not because they make honey. It's not because they have a high presence of bees. In fact, in terms of making honey or bee-related products, they rank number 24. It's actually the beehive state. It relates to the Mormon Church, the Church of Latter-day Saints. Early Mormon pioneers founded that state, and they liked the idea of a beehive working toward a common good. Now, if that sounds vaguely familiar or common, after Charlie's assassination,
so we're gonna skip through all that beehive stuff because I ain't gonna lie, there's not really much going on at the moment with all that stuff. So with that being said, we're gonna skip forward.
That feeling still did not dissipate, okay? I understood the imminent doom that I felt that was almost crippling was clearly related to that event, but I just know that all of these random lone shooter narratives that are being intentionally, what we're being told that they're just lone shooters and then we don't really know anything else. I just feel it spiritually that these people are being programmed, and perhaps that is the reason why more often than not, they are being protected by our government. In other words, it is positively foolish for us to believe that the government just cannot tell us anything about these assassins. They wipe everything and they tell us nothing. Why would they do that? That guy, they're always working alone. There's no online history that we can reflect on. What are you talking about? Which brings me to Thomas Matthew Crooks, because that's exactly what we were told or not told when on July 13th, 2024, a 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks climbs onto a roof and tries to assassinate President Donald Trump. Gratefully, Donald Trump did not die, but tragically, one of his supporters did, okay? A 50-year-old firefighter named Corey Comparatore lost his life trying to save his children. And then we were told virtually nothing. In fact, we were, and I'm laughing because it's so absurd, we were told Iran did this. What? Because they were all itching for...
Dude, I remember that, bro. I remember when they try to sit there and say, oh, Iran did this, Iran did that. Like, bro, do you really think they would be that stupid enough to come under our soil and try to commit an act of terrorism like that with Trump being in office? They understand that they did that. Trump would release all hell on them. Trump would rain down hell from the sky if they tried to do something like that. Come on now. That was the dumbest thing that I heard. Even I knew that wasn't real.
For war with Iran, like they're still itching for war with Iran, but like that's what basically was a narrative that was established. They had some warnings that Iran was going to try to assassinate Trump, and we're going, what? Well, guess what happened? Somebody reached out to me because I have been obviously leading the forefront in investigating this lone shooter as it pertains to Charlie Kirk, because it's not a lone shooter. It's a hive. I feel it spiritually. And they said, look, actually, I had been able to scrape everything about Thomas Crooks before the feds got rid of everything. And it's shocking what you look at. There's no way this person was not on the federal radar. Now, usually we go, was he on the left? Was he on the right? Because that's the bait. The bait is to make me, as a conservative, hate you if you were on the left. And if you were on the left, the goal is to make you hate Candace, because it allows them to operate in broad daylight. The reality of Thomas Crooks is going to be a story that we should get familiar with. He was at both on the left and on the right. He actually traded sides. He started actually as a Trump supporter. I'm going to show you And again, to really impress upon you how much this person had to be on the federal radar, I have an 80-page document, which I'm thinking I'm just going to drop on my website tomorrow after handing it over to legal, of all the accounts that he made, all the statements that he made. And he was at first very angry against the left. I mean, outwardly calling for the murder of people that are on the left. And there were videos that he was posting of himself shooting with no bullets in the gun in his bedroom. I'm going to show you one of those videos that's since been scraped. Don't worry, we blurred the weapon, just, to keep things above bar here. Take a look. Now, if you're listening to this and you are on Spotify, is essentially, or on Apple, what's essentially happening here is he's just in his room and there's no bullets in it, but he's practicing firing a weapon. And his online history, there's multiple videos that are like this, which I have. His online history shows he was extraordinarily violent. He was always calling for violence. And I can show you one of his comments that he made. This was a comment on a video, Trump humiliated on national TV. And he wrote to someone, haha, that's funny because I always believed being patriotic was lining up a bunch of socialist Jews like the ones that booed Trump and blasting their useless brains out with an AR. All to each his own. I mean, that's
crazy, bro. That's crazy. So, it would make sense if they somehow got him to turn his viewpoints around and do a 180 and start hating Trump and use him to try to kill him. That would make sense. That would make 100% sense. That is crazy. I didn't know a dude was like that on the internet, bro.
Unbelievably violent. Again, another comment where he was commenting on a YouTube video. He wrote, I've noticed a lot of liars talking about the truth in this post. Well, let me tell you some truth. Every one of the
This dude spelled liars wrong. Come on now. He spelled leers.
Trump-hating Democrats deserves to have their heads chopped off and put on stakes for the world to see what happens when you F with America. So you go, okay, this guy was a Trump supporter. Then he does a radical transformation around 2020. And this had something to do with COVID. He got very angry at Trump and he was outwardly saying things where people were reporting them on YouTube being like, this guy is absolutely insane. He's a maniac. He's a maniac. He was a maniac who was obsessed with Trump one way or the other. And then he went very much, obviously, which is the reason why he tried to assassinate him post-COVID. He just starts going completely crazy. And he is explicitly researching on Google the history of these assassinations. I can show you his search history here. Leading up to this, he searched best places.
Best places for mass shooting is wild, bro. There's no way this dude was not autistic in any type of way. There's no way that he wasn't. That's insane. That's like somebody Googling how to make a bomb, bro. That is crazy.
For a mass shooting, here are some of his other Google searches. I think we can just scroll down here. Yeah, okay. And
deadliest mass shooting in the world. Mass shooting El Paso. Firing an AR-15 as fast as possible. Fertilizer bomb. Bro, what was this dude?
This has a timeline on this. Again, I'm going to probably just post this document because you can.
Mass shooting, Canada, May 2nd, 2020.
The truth. He was fascinated with this stuff. He was fascinated. You can see here, guns versus protesters, Orlando shooting reaction, cars running over
Oklahoma bombing,
protesters, firing an AR-15 as fast as possible.
People attacking pride parades. Cars running over protesters, getting away with racism. Pulse nightclub, police body camera. Trump civil war, Trump church shooting. What the fuck? Guns versus protesters, Orlando shooting, why I'm missing handgun. See, this is what I'm saying. The way this dude is searching things up, there's no way that he's not retarded in some type of way. How do you use a tourniquet? How do you make napalm? Molotov cocktail and how to make Molotov cocktail. Mixing gasoline with styrofoam.
Fertilizer bomb. How do you use a tourniquet? How to make a Molotov cocktail.
Sniper in Dallas shoot, bro. This dude is
To make Molotov cocktails, pardon me. Mixing gasoline with styrofoam, mass shooting Canada, Oklahoma bombing, sniper in Dallas shooting. You want me to believe on the basis of what I have?
Hold on, I'm gonna go back and read some of these other ones.
Places for okay.
Okay, that's all.
And this has a timeline on this. Again, I'm going to probably just post this document for protesters. How to Molotov styrofoam. This of what I have seen, that this individual wasn't on federal radar. Just wasn't on federal radar. Guys, that is a nonsense. Okay, that is an absolute nonsense. And again, the other element of this is we're never going to be told what therapists he was seeing. Okay. What his mom's walking in the room. He's practicing how to shoot. It's very clear where you can see it in the background. He's practicing shots. They want us to believe that this just happened by accident, even though for years he was documenting wanting to harm politicians and people that were on the left and people that were on the right. Again, on the basis of everything, whether it was their race, their color, whether they were homosexual, there's something there for everyone. So what's happening here? Well, I can tell you my suspicion. I think that this is a program. I do. I don't know, but I know. You know? I don't know, but I know. Because it is giving me the same ick that I had when I was looking through the period and learning the reality of what happened throughout the 1960s when MK Ultra, when that program was running. And I have no reason to believe that that program was ever discontinued. And I believe that they find these candidates in schools. I really do. I think they find these candidates in schools. And so I wanted to express that to you, that we, once again, are having a predicament, and we can trace this straight from what they did to when JFK was assassinated, where the feds are obscuring. They are using journalists to obscure. They are putting pressure on government officials. They are lying to the public about everything, except this time it's regarding Charlie Kirk, which means this time it's not going to fly because I'm not going to allow it to. Let's take a pause here. And we're going to get to something that Megyn Kelly shared on her show about a hex that was put on Charlie Kirk, which is important for us to discuss for a variety of reasons. First, I'm going to throw to some sponsors. Riverbend Ranch, low hydrogen now 40 and I'm not.
You know, I remember hearing that somebody paid some witches to put curses on Charlie Kirk, and then I think it was 2.5 weeks later, after the fact, was whenever he got shot. And that's crazy to me, brother. People have so much hatred that they're going to witches and warlocks and all these other dumb things, trying to put curses on people they don't like, and whatever the case may be. Like, come on, bro.
Denying the logic of it, going, this has happened to so many people on the right, so it happens to you, boo-hoo. I get that. But also, if we just keep playing ping pong, nobody wins, and actually, except for the government. And I think that's the reason that this sport has been created, left versus right. And Jimmy Kimmel delivered a monologue and thanked people on the right.
He said, the minute you say Riverbend Ranch, I know to skip that shit.
In his very Jimmy Kimmel way, and I got a shout out for saying, hey, you know, common sense, the government should not be getting involved when it comes to speech. That's insane. We cannot cheer that on. Take a listen to his monologue.
I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway. I never would have imagined, like Ben Shapiro, Clay Travis, Candace Owens, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, even my old pal Ted Cruz, who, believe it or not, said something very beautiful on my behalf.
I hate what...
Oh, yeah, the advertisement, yeah. Because you already know that's whenever it's coming up.
Jimmy Kimmel said, I am thrilled that he was fired.
Oh, wait, no, not that. The other part.
But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying,
well,
we don't
can't
like
say
what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like. That will end up bad for conservatives.
I don't think I've ever said this before, but Ted Cruz is right. He's absolutely right. This affects all of us, including him. I mean, think about it. If Ted Cruz can't speak freely, then he can't cast spells on the Smurfs. even though I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects, some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did, and they deserve credit for it. And thanks.
Feeling is mutual. There are some.
You know, to a certain extent, he's right. He's right. Whether you like him or not, the government can never be allowed to get involved in speech. Now, you can regulate journalism and media to where they only have to report the truth. That's how it should be. But they should never get involved with our freedom to say what we want to say. Because then at that point it's open season for everybody. Everybody. And that's a no-no. That's a no-no.
Things you say that make me want to throw up as well. But it is important that we realize government overreach is government overreach. Doesn't matter who it's happening under, whether it's Biden or whether it's Trump, it's wrong. Okay. And by the way, both sides have been guilty of government overreach. So less of us taking the bait on that. I also want to say, I wanted to show you guys this clip of Megyn Kelly. It's gone pretty viral. It's everywhere, speaking about something that I did not know about, which is pertaining to a hex and a curse that Charlie KIRK and Erica Kirk were worried about. It's kind of shocking, a very shocking story. And I just want to preempt this by saying that for those of you that don't understand that this is a spiritual war that we are fighting, you might have been like me years ago. And I refer to us as the Muggles. Of course, there are people who believe in all of this stuff, and there are people who put spells on people, and they are meaningful. They follow numerology, and it's serious. That is serious. And you think that it's not because they have made our society so plastic and there's no substance anymore, and we are so distracted. But these people who rule over us, okay, they know who they worship. They know they worship Luciferianism. And so I was very alarmed that this had happened, and I honestly had wished that Charlie had reached out to me, even though they did end up consulting a Catholic priest. I didn't expect, I wish I could have given them the exact person, but take a listen to how Megyn Kelly shares what happened, a curse that was put on Charlie just before he went out to UVU.
I learned when I was out in Arizona last week that 2 weeks before Charlie KIRK was assassinated, the far-left website Jezebel declared that it had a mission to cast bad luck or a curse on Charlie. They wanted to hurt him in some way. They declared, quote, if the far-right misogynist with a bad haircut wants to villainize independent women, Jezebel is more than happy to be the hag of his nightmares. And they went onto the website Etsy, yes, Etsy, to, quote, cast a curse on him. Yes, this is actually a thing. Etsy, the website known for making arts and crafts on demand, will happily cast a hex through its witches, who you can hire, on someone if you ask them to. Erica and Charlie KIRK heard about these curses. And that news genuinely rattled Erica in particular. She knew Christian teaching on the subject. She loved Charlie, absolutely. And she was scared when she heard of the curses Jezebel had called up. So much so that she and Charlie contacted a friend, who I believe she said was a Catholic priest, but definitely a friend, and asked him to come over and pray with them over Charlie the night before he was murdered. She eventually worked it through, and so did Charlie. That, as she later told me, weapons will form but not prosper. That Satan and those witches have no power.
So just to add a little color to the story, I think that the people who did this and what we've learned about those women is I think they were probably who did the hiring were probably trying to be funny. People that don't believe in spiritual forces were probably just like, LOL, it's like Vice. It's like, Vice publication. Like, I smoked a blunt and, listened to the Beatles music backwards. It's like, they don't take that stuff seriously. So they're trying to be like, haha, funny headline, right? And the person who wrote the article about it said, I'm not calling on dark forces to cause him harm. I just want him to wake up every morning with an inexplicable zit, right? So she's probably trying to be funny, to be fair.
I wonder if that never happened, would he still have died or would he not have died? Well, it's a very good question. We all know that witchcraft and all that other stuff is very real. And that when witches cast a spell on somebody, they are conjuring up a demonic spirit to go and attack them. That's a fact. That is a fact. So I don't know. I wonder if you'd still be here if that didn't happen.
But contacted witches who are not trying to be funny. That's the problem when people don't understand that this stuff is real. You're saying to a witch, yeah, I'll pay for you. I'm going to call, reach out to you to pay for you to put a curse on Charlie. And that witch did that. And it brought, obviously you can see, they were distressed by this. They consulted a Catholic priest who I assume would have immediately conducted an exorcism, but probably should have done in the Latin rite. But I feel like that's just something that people should know, because until something happens to you spiritually, you tend not to believe in these things. And like I said, that's a part of this. They very much know what religion they follow.
Says, Nick PBD segment on the show for like 5 minutes. I was thinking about it.
The numbers, the numerology, it makes sense to them, the people that are in control of this world. And you should just be very cautious of that stuff. A lot of times I kind of give this example. It's like they can sell us anything as reality. Like we are now in this culture of what C.S. Lewis refers to as scientism. As long as they say like it's science, it's not weird, and we don't realize it. No, I think these are spiritual forces. Like if a witch was like, ha, here's a potion, take it, it works. You'd be like, oh, that's so crazy. I don't believe in witch potions. But like a doctor can create something and it makes you, and you're like, oh, of course, but this is like backed by science. It's like, okay, by any other name sort of a thing. You know what I mean? But this stuff is real, and I'm glad that the end result thus far of how it has impacted society to watch Charlie be assassinated, even though we don't know who exactly was behind this, we know it was more than one person, is that people are going back to church, and that they had that instinct when they watched it. They suddenly realized, whoa, they got hit spiritually, even if they hadn't been to church in years. I was getting comments. I haven't been to church in 20 years. And for some reason, watching the death of Charlie Kirk made me know that I needed to go to church. That is at least one thing in this.
See, here's the thing. We all know, God works in mysterious ways, right? What if this was the plan that God had for Charlie Kirk's life? And what if he needed Charlie to be martyred to get the masses to wake up? If that really is the case, I couldn't even be mad at it, bro. I couldn't even be mad at it. It sucks. Of course it does. But if that's the case, Charlie served his purpose for God. And now he is with God in heaven. Rejoicing, dancing like dancing like a deer, just as Isaiah said that we would when we meet him. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I can probably only just imagine that he was greeted with open arms and warm welcomes once he got there. I can only imagine that he was probably told, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And that's a fact. That is a fact.
Your opinion of me. I'm Middle Eastern married to a white girl. Do you think it's better off for America to minimize over the last, 25 years in insurance and finance, was watching who has talent. And I would watch somebody, I would say, this guy's got what it takes, right? First time I had Charlie Kirk on at 23 years old, I said, there's something very special about this guy. At 23, I came to my insurance company and I said, this guy's going to be the president one day. Watch this guy closely. First time I watched Tucker, unbelievable talent. When you watch him, humor, sarcasm, intelligence, pushing back, subtle. He's making fun of you. You don't know it. The audience knows it. He knows the art. CANDACE, talent. Dave Smith, talent. We used to have a comedian working here called Marcelo Hernandez, who is now on SNL. I don't know if you know who he is or not. Okay. Incredible. He used to produce Adam's show. And I said, this guy's going to do something special. Now he's on SNL. Vinny, talent. I see you, the way you communicated. Very, very talented. Very capable, very talented. And I've expressed this before on the show before. but I want to know a little bit more about how you became who you are today. And then we'll cover a lot of different topics. So go to high school, 14 years old, who was Nick Fuentes?
Well, at 14 years old, I was already very political. I've been political since really I was 12 years old.
Why is that?
Well, I just started to develop an interest in politics. There were a lot of political conversations happening due to the rise of Obama, actually, in 2008, 2012. And I wanted to know basically everything about it. You know, when you turn around that age, you start to ask questions about the world and how we all got here and, you know, about things that happened before. And so the first thing I ever watched, actually, was Thomas Sowell on Uncommon Knowledge with, I think,
The best, one of the
Peter
best.
Robinson. Yeah, they're both excellent, from the Hoover Institute. And that was actually the first thing I ever watched, and I just devoured it. I devoured everything.
At 12.
Yeah, 12, 13, 14.
Who introduced you to Thomas Sowell?
I just Googled it. A buddy of mine in school was telling me about the private sector. I said, what is the private sector? You know, what is the economy? And so I just Googled it on YouTube, and that was the first thing that came up. And I watched the whole thing, and it was just, I was enamored by it. And I told my mom, I said, I want Free to Choose by Milton Friedman. That was the first political book I ever read. And one day came home from school, and it was there on my bed. And I read
First
it.
book is Free to Choose.
Yes.
Capitalism, free market capitalism. And he was it's really him and Thomas Sowell. I think he came before Thomas did, right?
He did, yes.
Right.
Yeah, well, he was from the Chicago school. So it was Friedman, Sowell, and all the others. And so I read all that stuff in middle school and high school. And at that time, I was really a libertarian because that's just what was out there at that time. That was during the Ron Paul Revolution.
And the Fed.
Right, and the Fed. And there was so much online digital content, this is early 2010s, that was being put out by young libertarians. So that's just what was out there and what was available. And so I worked through all of it. Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, and read about all the Chicago school, even then the Austrian school, the really more libertarian economic stuff. And in high school, I was in Model UN, student council, speech team. I was very active in high school and, you know, one of those precocious, autodidact type young guys. And
Were you like this? Were you this vocal?
Oh, yeah.
Were you this intense?
yes,
So did you get in trouble a lot? Did you get in a lot of fights? Did you get picked on? Did you have bullies?
I was very outspoken. I was very extroverted about politics. I was always getting in political debates in class and in Model UN, but I didn't really get in trouble as much. What's really funny, this might interest you actually, and I've talked about this before, but when I was in Model UN, I was one of the best guys on the team. I would win first place every week, and because if you don't know Model United Nations, you simulate the United Nations General Assembly or the different committees, and it's like role play. It's like a role play game, but for the United Nations. And anyway, so I was one of the better guys on the team. And my junior year of high school, I became the head of the team. I became the secretary general of the team. But I had a major falling out with the guy that ran the team. He was ethnically Arab, I think, extremely pro-Palestine. And I, at that time, was very pro-Israel. I was on Prager University and Breitbart. And so I downloaded all the dogma from the conservative movement at that time. And so I remember we were sitting in the study hall one day, and they had all the flags of the world hanging up on the ceiling. And I said, why do we have the Iranian flag hanging up? I said, they're the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world. It shouldn't be up. And he told me, you got to read The Israel Lobby by John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt. He said, you got to look at the other side. And we had this like vicious back and forth about it. And that is kind of the only major problem I had with faculty over politics, ironically. Now,
So he was faculty.
yes.
Okay, so how many years older was he from you?
Oh, he must have been in his 40s.
And this school, walk me through the demo of the school. Is it a public school? Is it a private school?
It was a pretty affluent public school,
Okay.
mostly white,
Got it.
outside in the suburbs of Chicago.
Naperville, what
It was
area?
Lyons Township
Okay.
in Western Springs.
Okay.
LaGrange.
So it's not like it's Chicago. It's a good area of Chicago, mostly white. And would you say politically center, left, don't care, Republican? What would you say the demo was?
I would say it's pretty center-left. It's very Catholic. Some Catholic, some Protestant. But what's interesting about it is very liberal, but not leftist, not very progressive. So even though we were in the middle of a very progressive revolution under Obama, I mean, these guys were all liberal, but they weren't communists. It wasn't like New York or Portland.
So what year is this? When you were a junior in high school, this would make it what?
2015.
2015. Okay, so this is, has Trump yet announced anything?
So he announced August 2015. So it was actually right around that time.
Got it. Okay, so you're there, you're getting into these debates in junior year, and then Trump announces, and then what do you do?
So after Trump announced, this is right around the time, so actually he announced in June 2015. And so I was very political, obviously super engaged with the election. And at that time, so this was going into my senior year of high school, I had a radio show on the high school radio station and a TV show on the high school TV station. I did both. And one of my first shows I've ever done in my whole life was talking about the election. And that was a very crowded primary. It was like 17 candidates. I don't know if you remember back then. It was Trump and this huge
Everybody,
field.
yeah.
It was everybody. And so I went through all the candidates. And initially, I was very anti-Trump because I was a libertarian. I was in it for Rand Paul and then Ted Cruz. And it wasn't until April or March 2016, about 7 months in to my senior year, that I really went in hard for Trump. And Trump, I would say, is the one who red-pilled me, quote unquote. He's
What
the
about
one.
these guys? These are the guys we're looking at, right?
Right.
That was a Jeb Bush started with $140 million. He was supposed to win. Carson had a little bit of momentum.
I remember there being that many candidates. That's crazy.
Cruz was one of the guys that people thought could do something.
Right.
Nobody thought Trump up until I think Ann Coulter's like, who do you think today's going to win? And she made the comment that I think it's going to be Trump on Bill Maher. Everybody starts laughing.
Right.
Okay, so you're in this moment. Trump red pills you first.
Yes. He red pills me on immigration, really. Because at that time, I am preoccupied with this notion of individualism. Very much like you. I mean, a lot of the stuff you say in your show, I agree with you 100%. I guess he reoriented my perspective about individualism. Because what I started to understand is that, you remember, in 2015, it felt like the left was unstoppable. It felt like Obama and then Hillary Clinton were going to lead this progressive revolution, and it was just going to get more left every day forever. More pro-woman, more pro-gay, more diverse. And at that time, what felt so suffocating was this kind of political chokehold the country was in. The media's left-wing, Hollywood's left-wing, the press is left-wing. And what woke me up about Trump is one day I was watching the primaries, early primary elections, and Trump was winning all of them. He didn't win the Iowa caucus, but he won in New Hampshire, won in Nevada, and I remember the media was beside themselves, calling it every day for him. And I said, the one thing that Trump has right is he understands in order to take power, well, in order to do what you want to do, you got to take power first. In order to take power, you have to engage the media, because the media is really the enemy. It's a very early kind of understanding of how politics actually works.
And fake news, he hasn't even said fake news yet. So this is pre him saying fake news.
Exactly. But he would fight the moderators in the debates, even Fox News, because Roger Ailes had it out for him early on. And I said, he's going to fight the mainstream media. That's essential, because if you can't fight the media, you can't win. If you don't win, you can't do what you want. And then I thought about immigration and how it's affecting the voting patterns, because I looked at one meme in 2016, and it said, this is what the 2012 election would look like if only...
You say you looked at a meme, bro. That is funny.
Only white men voted, if only men voted, if only... I'm sure everybody's seen it. And what became clear is that if only non-white people are voting, the country, they vote 90% left. Blacks voted 97% for Obama in 2008, in 2012. If immigration is making the country less white, and if non-white people only vote Democrat, Asians is like 75%, Hispanics at that time 70%, blacks 90%, I said, it's clear where the country's going to go, what direction this is headed in. I said, so, and the reason this is happening is because these people aren't assimilating. So before we can even think about individualism, the Constitution, et cetera, we got to take out the media. And by take out, what I mean by that is you got to fight back. And two, you have to secure the border, because if the Democrats bring in all these illegals and legal immigrants, they're going to flip Texas, and that's the way it's going to go. And that was kind of the first realization. That's what made me say I'm all in it for Trump, even though ideologically I wasn't really with him just yet.
Because you're a libertarian at the time.
Right.
Right. Okay, I'm following. So now you're all in for Trump. He's the closest thing to a libertarian. I don't know. I don't think it was Joe Jorgensen, right? Who was a candidate at the time for
Gary
the libertarian?
Johnson.
Right. Yes, you're not going to go Gary Johnson, right? I think he got. Is he the one that didn't know the capital of a country? And I don't know what it was.
Yeah,
Something
Aleppo.
was. Yeah, that's what it was. And it's like, oh my God, this guy can't be in. And they moved on. That was an easy one for him. So you're in that moment. I'm going to go all Trump. What happens next?
So I go all Trump, and I'm a big Trump guy. I get my MAGA hat, and I'm all excited about it, and I volunteer for the campaign and everything. And so he wins the primary in the spring of 2016. Convention happens, I think, July 2016. I enter college at Boston University in September 2016. And this is the first time I've lived outside Chicago. I've lived in the same place my whole life. And it's important to impress upon you and maybe everybody like where I grew up. It's like this pocket of America that never changed. It's a baseball town. Everybody's white. Everybody's obsessed with baseball. Everybody's Catholic. So growing up, I'm going to CCD, which is like catechism class for Catholics. Everybody loves baseball. There's an annual parade where you go and eat hot dogs and play baseball. So this is a place that is untouched by, like I said, even though they're liberal, they're not even really progressive. It's untouched by the progressive politics, by a lot of the diversity, even the crime. It's safe, white picket fences. Take a trip down to Western Springs, Illinois. I mean, you'll see what I mean. It's like the land that time forgot. I go to college in Boston, totally different story. Boston's obviously super diverse. That's a lot of young people. It's all schools, it's all universities. They're all from Asia, all foreign students, and they're all Chinese. They're all from these Asian countries. And there's also, it's a little dangerous. There's a little criminal element, and everyone on the campuses, they're militant left wing. And that was kind of a culture shock. And I kind of realized in that moment, most of the country looks like this now, actually. New York, LA, Miami, the big cities, and most people live in the cities, they all look like this because of immigration, because of left-wing progressive politics. And I kind of said, in that moment, my slice of America that I grew up with is a dying breed. It's literally going extinct. And I like my upbringing. I love my upbringing. I want to, if I have a family, I want to raise my kids in a place like that. But in 50 years, will there be places like that? The country's going to become majority minority in the 2030s. So when I'm old and gray and I have grandkids, what is the country they're going to look like?
And you're questioning this. You're questioning, you're having this dialogue, you're asking yourself, I'm concerned that I'm going to lose the identity of what it means to be an American. Is it more that? Is it more Caucasian? Is it more white?
Let's say there's an echo. All right, better give me a second. Let's fix this real quick.
What do you
Is there still an echo? Let me know.
mean it's going to lose its identity?
It's all of that. It's all of that. That it's not going to be white people. It's not going to be Christian. It's not going to be speaking English. It won't be safe. No baseball. No hot. Like all these different layers of identity are kind of being.
It's a Nick is a real one. I rock with bro. He's speaking facts right now. You know what's funny? Him talking about 2016 election, dude. That brings me back, cause during that time, during the debates, the presidential debate, it was down to Trump and Hillary Clinton. And I remember I was on a camping trip at this time. Cheers. What's good, Sandra? Appreciate you for tapping in. I was on a camping trip, and there was a kind of like a lodge type thing, almost like in the middle of the campgrounds where people could go and like sit down and like hang out and whatnot. And there was a little box TV in there that was connected to the cable. And when I say little box TV, I mean it was probably a little smaller, just a little bit smaller in width than my laptop screen. And there was probably about 8 to 9 of us sitting around this little TV watching Trump just destroy Hillary Clinton in the presidential debate, and we were all just laughing and cheering and everything. Dude, I remember that time, bro. That's crazy.
Who are you sharing this concern with at the time? Are you talking to friends, mentor, peers, relatives, parents? Who are you talking?
It's the only people who don't understand trolling, context, and clip culture, just like Nick. You ain't even lying, bro. You ain't even lying.
Talking to about this?
It's all my friends in college.
Okay, so this is on BU. You're talking to them.
Yes.
And are they agreeing, disagreeing? What are they saying to you?
Well, we all basically agreed. So we all met at the there was a watch party for the first debate between Trump and Clinton. All 4 of us. We were the only Trump supporters on the whole campus.
He said Jimmy Kimmel's back. Yeah, I've been known that he's back for like the last day or two. And then, honestly, I could care less about him being back. If he was back, cool. If he's not back, I don't care. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't really matter to me.
And we all met at this watch party.
Is this the one that said you'd be in jail? No, that's the second one, right?
Yes, that's the second one. So it was at the first one. We all met, and we developed this kind of tight-knit friendship.
What month is this? Is this September of 15?
September 16th.
September 16th. Okay, got it.
Right. And so, we all get together, and what was interesting at that time, and this was kind of like a cultural moment, is that remember that Trump, when he came around, there was just this explosion on the right wing. They called it the alternative right. That had a very different connotation in 2016 than it did in 17. Because in 16 and even 2015, what it meant, up to that point, the GOP and conservatism meant kind of like one thing. It meant like Rick Santorum, like cultural conservatism, traditional.
Karl Rove.
Right, all that kind of stuff. And Trump comes along and says, well, I'm kind of agnostic on healthcare. You know, we just want to take care of everybody. He was more of a Pat Buchanan, Sam Francis like nationalist. And so there was this explosion on 4chan and on Twitter of a lot of young right-wing guys that were asking, well, what does it mean to be right-wing? And so there's guys like Stefan Molyneux and Jared Taylor and Steven Pinker and Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro. All these guys come into the fold, and it's much more aggressive. It's younger. It's more dynamic. It's a lot of new ideas or maybe old ideas presented in a new way. And so we were kind of holding like this salon, like this intellectual salon at the Tasty Burger by Fenway, talking about all these new people that are coming around. Richard Spencer, for that matter, Peterson, race, and ideas like race realism, like Western chauvinism, people like Gavin McInnes. And we were all kind of developing our ideas and what we thought was right. And ironically, none of these guys were even white. One of them was Turkish. One of them was actually Assyrian. I know you're Assyrian.
Who was that?
So he's an Assyrian guy from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, some young man.
Wow. Was he a Christian man or no?
He was Christian.
A Syrian man from Australia. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
And one of them was Jewish even. And so he was Russian Jewish. And a lot of people say about me, I mean, I'm an American ethnic. I'm not English or German. I'm
Fuentes. What's Fuentes?
Mexican.
And who's your dad's Mexican?
My father's half Mexican, yes.
What's his other half?
Irish.
And then mom?
She's all Italian.
All Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, I've
You know, it's funny, looking at Nick and listening to him talk, you would never think that he was even half Mexican, bro. That's crazy. Bro, speaking skills are elite tier. Oh, yeah, he just goes on and on and on. He barely stutters and stumbles over his words. Like, it's crazy, bro. To be able to talk like that is actually a talent in itself, a gift in itself, because not very many people can just talk and talk and talk and talk like that, bro, for real.
when we're talking to the crew, they're telling me that mom had some influence politically. Is it mom that had more influence politically or dad?
I really wasn't too influenced in that way. I'm really more by my grandmother, by my mom's mother. She was very conservative.
Who did she believe in? Who was her heroes? She would say, Nick, you got to follow this guy. Nick, you got to read this book. Nick, you got to watch this.
He's only 26. Can you imagine Nick Fuentes becoming president one day? But that'd be crazy. Hey, homie, look, hey, no, we're not gonna do all that up in here. We straight in here, all right? We don't comment dudes on their look. We don't compliment dudes on their looks and all that other goofy ass stuff, all right? Don't do it again.
Who would she talk about?
She loved Mark Levin.
I got it. Okay. So super safe, conservative, pro-Israel. This is who your grandmother was. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now let's fast forward to where you're at with Trump. He's there. You're on view. You're talking to these guys, Jordan Peterson, Gavin McInnes, a Syrian guy from Australia, even one guy that's Turkish, Jewish. You're talking to all these guys. What is that looking like? What's happening with you?
He said, yeah, if you say anything else zesty like that, I will send you to the opposite of your maker. Yeah, man. Hey, let the ladies compliment the dudes, bro. Come on now. Unless you swing that way, but even then, we don't swing that way in here.
That time.
So we're really kind of getting down into what it means to be right wing. Because like I said, I'm having this evolution. I was libertarian from like 12 to 17. Trump kind of changed the way I think about things. Then I'm in college and I'm meeting these people and I'm on Twitter. I'm looking at all these new intellectual figures and we're debating, for example, the idea of race. Immigration is the issue of 2016. We're talking about illegal immigration, legal immigration, and we're talking about the big topic is the demographic change. America was a white country. It's becoming a non-white country through immigration. And we're talking about the impact that that's going to have. What does it really mean for us? Yes, they're going to vote Democrat, probably. Will they vote Democrat forever? Yeah, they're not quite like us. Can they ever be like us? What does it mean?
All right, homie, look. I'm going to have to put you in timeout because obviously you don't get the message, all right? So you can come back tomorrow and try it again. Or if you want to continue down this road, I can go ahead and get you up on out of here and put you on the Elon Musk rockets and send you to the moon. How about that?
To be white versus black or white versus any other race for that matter. And we kind of get into the idea, I guess maybe the big idea is the politics of identity. That politics maybe is less about, whereas libertarians are obsessed with individualism, which is an abstract concept, the individual as relates to the state. This is abstract. We're now talking about the politics of identity, which is concrete, which is particular, not general, not abstract, but concrete and particular. You have white people and black people. They come from specific places and they bring with them their genetics. They bring with them their culture, their way of doing things. And we're saying we less believe in conservatism than we believe in America specifically. And that was kind of, I guess, the big pivot I made. And that's why I started my show, which was called America First, which was this nationalistic show as opposed to libertarian or conservative.
Okay, so you start your show, America First. You're pro-Trump. You're supportive of Trump. You're going through what you're going through. Give me a couple inflection points where you start kind of flipping and you're no longer pro-Israel. What were some of those events? Was it a book? Was it a conversation? Was it things you studied? What was that like?
Well, the biggest thing is that I met this girl named Cassie Dillon. She was a fellow at Daily Wire. She now goes by Cassie Akiva. So she was in school around the same time. She was in Western Massachusetts studying. And we met because we ran in the same college Republican circles. And she's the one that got me the show at RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, that's her.
So she's still with Daily Wire?
Yeah, she was there. She left, and then she came back.
Okay.
And so, you know, I met her, and at that time, she was a Christian. She converted to Judaism. She married a Jewish guy and converted. When I met her, she was a Christian, or she had been raised Christian. And we became very good friends. You know, we went to the Christmas party, and we hung out, and I went on her show, and she got me my show.
Nothing like a attractiveness, just a friendship.
It might have been going in that direction,
Okay.
but no, nothing like that materialized. So, yeah, we were just friends, and
Yeah, I already spanked him and put him in the corner and told him to go stand in the corner. He could try again tomorrow.
I started to notice something was up because Trump's doctrine was America first. And that was so attractive to me. He said, we will no longer be misled by the siren song of globalism. It's going to be Americanism, not globalism. And that really sunk into me. And I'll never forget, this was in December 2016. This is what did it for me. And I wrote an article about it on my blog. I had a blog at that time. And I noticed that Obama, who was still the president during the lame duck period, he told our ambassador to the United Nations not to veto a resolution condemning the West Bank settlements. So there's a resolution saying Israel's settlements in the West Bank are illegal. Normally, the United States vetoes that on behalf of Israel to protect them. But Obama instructed our ambassador to abstain. And so the resolution went through. And everybody on the right wing said Obama's an anti-Semite. He hates Jews because he did that. And I said, wait a second. I went through and I did the research, and I said, ever since 1967, during the Six-Day War, when Israel occupied the West Bank and Gaza Strip, it has been the official U.S. policy that we do not support the civilian settlements. That's technically illegal under international law. I said, so all Obama did was really uphold the same policy that every president did, Republican and Democrat, yet they're calling him a Jew hater. I said, I don't think Obama hates Jews. Obama's supported by the Jewish left. People like Saul Alinsky mentored him or influenced him. So I don't think he hates Jews. I think that he's just carrying out our policy. And so I said, how is that any different than when, let's say, a conservative critiques BLM, they get called the racist. You critique feminism, you get called the sexist.
Where were you working at that time? Were you working anywhere? You were independent?
I was independent.
Okay, so you're not with anybody while you're writing this.
Right.
So you're free to write and say whatever you want. Okay,
Right.
Continue.
Yeah, so I was just on my own blog, and so I wrote that out. I said, this is hypocritical. I said, and this is something that crops up over and over, is this double standard when it comes to anti-Semitism, when it comes to Israel, and I called this out. And Cassie Dillon, who was my friend, I would raise this issue with her, and I would criticize Ben Shapiro very harshly. He was very anti-Trump at that time. And I said, I think Ben Shapiro is Israel first. And I think that when Trump says in his inaugural, it's America first, why is it that Israel gets all this foreign aid? They're the number one recipient for 50 years. They're not a poor country. Why is it that much largesse? And so I would press her on this and other related questions. And eventually she threw arms up in, I think it was March 2017. And she said, we are no longer in the same movement. She said, you are anti-Israel. The way you're going about this is anti-Semitic.
This is Casey.
This is, yeah, Cassie Dillon.
Cassie Dillon.
She goes, you're attacking Shapiro and in an anti-Semitic way. I don't like your tone. She said, and I really want nothing to do with you anymore. And so she blocked me on Twitter. And my whole friend group who was with Daily Wire, Elliot Hamilton, Aaron Bandler, all these other writers at Daily Wire, they all blocked me. They would not talk to me. And then...
Now, you guys all know each other. You've hung out on your friends.
Yes.
In what context do you guys hang out? Because you're not with Daily Wire.
Right. So we would hang out at... we hung out at the Christmas party for the Massachusetts...
See, if you can't sit there and, have a discussion, a conversation, or whatever, even disagree on things and be able to move forward, that was never your homeboy, that was never your homegirl, that was never your friend. They were just there until they weren't anymore. And that's 100% facts. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the world that are like that. They're just there until they're not no more. Until they find a reason to get rid of you. That's all they want. All they want is just to look for that opening, that little slit in the curtain, so they can open it and disappear on you. That's it. And with how big Nick Fuentes has gotten, I bet you they all regret it. It's tough. You know? It is what it is. But with that being said, man, I'm going to go ahead and get this outro pulled up. And then we're going to go ahead and bounce. So with that being said, man, I appreciate every single one of y'all for tapping in. You know, we're going to keep on going with this. Shut up. We're going to keep on going with this, you know, Candace Owens investigation into Charlie Kirk. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, bro. We're going to get to the bottom of it. That's a fact. So with that being said, make sure to share with your friends, your families, your mummies, your aunties, your grannies, and everybody else that y'all know. And we finna bounce.
Protection, but it's all the same. They don't want freedom. They want compliance. They don't want truth. They sell you silence. We are the chain-link nation, trapped in our own foundation, breaking the bars of the station, screaming against damnation. Contracts written in invisible ink, cameras watching every thought that you think. Prisons filled up while the rich still drink. Sink or swim, they'll let you sink. They monitor your letters. They monitor your calls. They monitor your footsteps. They monitor it all. Incarceration of a generation. Exploitation through legislation. Domination through privatization.